All right, Wendy, we are live. And folks, this is the pre-show. So welcome to the pre-show. This is where we just get prepped and make sure everything is all set up and ready to go. And so there we are. That's ready. That's ready. Mic is in the right place. I think I can. Oh, that's a little feedback from my YouTube. There we go. Now, you've struck me dumb today. I'm speechless.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, hey folks, hey Allison, how you doing? Michael Brewer, how you doing? So far, so good. We got a few people lined up. Not everybody's showing up in the chat room yet, but they will. They will. We go live at 3 minutes after the top of the hour, so everybody hang on. I'm being childish now. I'm being boyish. So.
Oh, you're allowed to. It's okay, and it's free.
Yes, it's free. I am struck dumb by your radiance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
As I said, it's always lovely to get a compliment from a lovely gentleman and right back at you.
Why, thank you, ma'am. I should have worn blue. Could have matched you.
You didn't know what color I was wearing today, so we kind of match red and blue.
We correspond.
We do. We do.
So
you look amazing.
We got 1 minute left, and we go live, folks.
You always look amazing. Everybody says that, Scotty's looking just fine, and you do. You look amazing.
Well, coming from you, that bears a lot of meaning and weight.
There you go. Yeah. There's the flirt fest over.
Who said that?
Who said that?
Oh. It's not even flirting. It's just complimenting.
It is. It is.
So.
Hi, Michelle.
Hey, Michelle. How you doing?
How you doing?
We are primary colors today. Yes. Blue
we
and
are.
red. So. Blue and red, white and blonde.
That's a good combination. Red, white, and blonde.
There it is.
We never know what we're going to look like until we actually go on to StreamYard, and then we go.
I know. We just pop in and we go, oh, wow, hey. So it's nice to be. Whoa, why am I getting an echo?
Not from me, hopefully.
That was kind of weird. Hello? Why am I getting that? Are you hearing the echo?
No, not really.
I'm getting reverb on my mic, and I'm not sure why. Did I hit something? Oh, that's not good. Let's see. Any different? Any better? Any better? I have a reverb setting on my soundboard, but it's not on. I feel like my mic is in reverb, and it's time to roll here. But
we can't hear any echo, though.
Whatever this issue is, let's see. I'm going to put on my glasses to read the board. Let's see. Equal and balance. There should be no reverb at all. That's interesting. Level.
Apparently, you sound okay to everyone else, though, Scotty. So you're okay.
Low EQ.
Thank you, Kevin. That's very nice of you to say.
Well, does anybody else out there in the chat room, do you hear reverb on my microphone? That's really odd. Oh, I know what that is. Hold on. Boom. Had to turn that off.
Fiddle with things, Scotty. Have you fiddling with them?
Yes, I am. All right. Let's get rolling. Serious face. All right, here we go, folks. We're going to go out, and we'll be right back in. We're going dark. Stand by. No, welcome back to Robertson. It's going to be a show.
It's one of those shows.
Intimate. Like that? All right. Today, we're going to talk about intimate fantasies. And whether or not they're real, not whether or not, are they real? Are they fake? Are they fraudulent? Are they genuine? These are all good questions to ask. And there is a context. This is Wendy's music.
Oh my God, that is so funny. Yeah,
there it is.
What Scotty was actually saying is today's all about fantasies.
I have fantasies. Do you have fantasies?
Of course.
Of course you do.
Of course.
Well, we're going to talk about all those today, and we're all just going to sit back and listen. So, folks, I will say with all genuine, non-prurient design that Wendy has struck me dumb with her radiance today. So we could just let her go, and I'll sit back, and I got to put on my glasses. So yeah, we all love fantasies. Steph is here once. She loves her fantasies. And I got to have these on to read today. Kevin Thompson, the music reminds me of the time I found the shoebox under my dad's bed.
Oh, really?
The shoebox.
Shoebox?
What's in the shoebox, little Kevy? Let's see. I don't like wearing those on the show, but who else do we have? We got Deb Treadway, Steph, she says. Hey, Spirit Heart. That would be Cordia is here in the room. Field Guy is here today. Good to see you. Elvis is in the building. And just want to say hi to everybody who's coming in. Rudy Dog. Good to see you, Rudy. And, of course, one of my very favorites, Michelle Canham Freedom is here. She's Canadian.
Oh, I gotta love her.
Living in the States, but Canadian. And let's see. I just want to say hi to the people who are already in here. Barbie D is here. I think I said Field Guy is here. Deb, Barbie D. I'm just scrolling back through to see who all is here. And so welcome to everybody. We're so glad you could make it. So, Wendy, why don't you introduce our topic today?
It's always me in the deep end, isn't it? Just chuck her in and see where it goes. Well, actually, this topic was brought up by actually a quite close friend of mine who said that they thought it would be a wonderful topic for Robertson. And when I sent you all the stuff, you were like, oh my.
Oh my. That was my response. I went, oh my.
I was like, oh my. So basically, they were talking about the wonders of the internet and dating sites. And there were some profiles on there where some ladies were actually saying they wanted to act out their fantasies. They were looking to find someone to act out their fantasies with. Some of that fantasies were a little bit, whoa. And some of it was kind of like, okay, I get that one, right? So he said, why don't you talk about fantasies, and also the fact that on the internet, on a dating site, is the weird, wonderful, and they're just wild. Because obviously we can't actually show what we saw. I can't forget what I saw.
We could show what we saw, but, it's not really revealing too much information. And I've seen naughtier on YouTube before, but it was the things that they said along with their profiles. Now, what Wendy was showing me was some images that her friend sent her from up in Canada, who is doing the dating websites. And some of the material that was coming across really was what led Wendy into this topic tonight to introduce it to me. And I said, I like that topic. Let's go with it. It took all of 10 seconds to convince me.
It was like, okay, let's do it. And she's my friend in Scotland, and also
Scotland, I'm sorry.
my friend in Canada as well. I've had two people send me stuff, and it was something that I talked about, and I think they wanted to see this topic from a man and woman's point of view. I could have taken it to wicked women, which I still could, but I thought you and I, we can get a grip of this. We can get
I think we can get a good grip on it. So, and having said that, let's talk for a minute just about the human brain and fantasy and what we do, because what do they say about a good lover? A good lover in the sexual category, it isn't all just about hands and tongues and body parts and all of that. It's about the brain too. You have to know how to use your brain and what to do there. Oh, if I could go back to my younger days, knowing how my brain works a little better now, I think I would either have 17 illegitimate children across the nation, or I would have been a much better person in all different kinds of areas, because my brain works differently now. And I'm sorry, folks, I got to put these on to see. Otherwise, I'm leaning in like this to read the chat room. So I think I'm going to hop in the hot tub while we discuss this, said Steph Cuervo, Queen. Well, how appropriate is that? And what's everybody else saying? Jamie Fraser. Oh, Jamie Fraser, Outlander. Yeah, every woman I know seems to like him. And is it the accent, or is it the body, or is it the kilt? We know, what is it?
I think it's all of it.
It's all, yes. Your answer was yes.
I actually have only seen him briefly, but for me, when you talk about a fantasy, the actual common, I've got to put these on as well. 1 second. The faculty or activity of imagining impossible or improbable things is meaning fantasy. So, for instance, you could fantasize about being with someone, and it's never going to happen, but you have a fantasy about it, and no one can take the fantasy from you because it's your fantasy, right? So it's all yours. You could have fantasized about, I'm going to go and buy myself a really big bottle of wine and chocolate, and I'm fantasizing about what it's going to feel like and taste like. It's about taking you somewhere in yourself to another level. And sometimes we get to live out those fantasies, and sometimes we don't. And also, some of our fantasies are not reality. They're not real.
That's very true. Michelle Canham-Free just said over here in the chat room, internet relationships are all fantasy, she said. Anything all internet stuff are all fun. Now, you can specify, because I know there are long distance relationships that have to live via the internet. But I think she probably, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, Michelle. You can specify if you want, but it's all those kind of fake. How many people have you heard that have gotten in trouble over the last 10 years because they've fallen in love with somebody on the internet, or they leave their families to go chase down that fantasy person? And I don't mean in a stalking sort of way. That would be a bad thing, but that happens too. I
think you've got to be very careful, because I mean, for instance, when I was younger, Alec Baldwin was my fantasy guy. I wanted a guy who looked like Alec Baldwin. He was hot. He was so sexy. There was those blue eyes, the dark hair, stubble. It was like, oh my God. He still is. He's still a very good looking guy, I have to say. His attitude is not brilliant at times, but he's a good looking guy. But I knew in my heart, right, the chances of me actually getting with Alec Baldwin were probably like very quite slim as the fact that,
You know,
you know,
that was like me and Angelina Jolie. I call her Angie.
and
Um,
you and Ange.
and I don't know if she ever caught on via the winds of the universe that I was madly in love with her. But alas, it never happened. It never was meant to be. That was a fantasy. And now, so fantasizing unhealthy?
I think it's unhealthy when, I use this as an example because it depends on the fantasy, right? No one can say anyone's individual fantasy is wrong or toxic, but I think it's where you take it, how
Yep.
far you go with it. So, for instance, if there's a woman that you really like and you're really into, and you really want to be with her, but and vice versa, if it's a guy and a woman, and there's absolutely no chance that there's anything going to go there, but you still hold on to the fantasy. It's what you do with it and where you take it if you cross the boundaries, right? So I
Yes.
think that's when fantasy can be dangerous, when you take it to levels where if it involves someone else who doesn't want that. If you're with someone who
Right.
wants the same thing, wonderful. But that's a little bit troubling. And also if it's see, this is a line, isn't it, where it crosses fantasies. What is wrong and what is right? Because everyone's
Mhm.
fantasy is different. I might not want to sit in freezing cold water and have shocks go through my body, but some people
Right.
might be really into it, right? And there are
Right.
so many weird and wonderful fantasies out there. And I think one of the things we saw on the internet tonight that was sent to us was there was a lady, and she was asking to meet someone, a daddy figure, a father figure. In fact, she said, I think it was a sugar daddy stroke father figure.
Sure.
And I want someone to control me, to bind me, to rape me, and
She
to
actually used that word.
she did, and to basically I'm there to, they can do whatever they want to me, bring it on. And that was quite shocking because the photographs that went with it and the words as you and I saw it as it went down, it was kind of like, wow. And a lot of guys will see that and go, this woman's nuts, right? Or they might go, really? But what if you've got someone out there who's a little bit, may I say the word, unhinged, or has mental health issues or something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
That could go in a very bad way.
Yes. Now, it's very interesting because I've had my share of fantasies, some of them unreal, I want that Green Orion slave woman from Star Trek. That was an unreal fantasy.
Yeah.
A real fantasy was somebody that I knew at the Renaissance Festival, where I did performing for years and years and years. And that was somebody I saw, and she made me stutter when I'd see her. And she wore a high court gown, and all this, and she was a very beautiful woman. And um, I want to see how to phrase this the best way. There was a day where I never expressed that to her, because I thought I'd be rude if I would. But I had a few conversations with her, and we never went and hung out. But I bumped into her a couple of times, like at Kinko's of all places, and so that went on. And then one day, she called in the afternoon, and she said, "Hey, I'm in your neck of the woods." She said, "Do you mind if I stop by? We could have a cup of coffee and talk." I'm like, "Well, yeah, sure." And she came over, um, and it was like fantasy came true, like
Yeah.
immediately, and I didn't even know that it was there. And it wasn't long lasting. It wasn't meant to be, but it was one of those things where you can fantasize about the unreal, and it'll never happen. You can fantasize about the real, the possible, and it can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Michelle says, when someone makes you take a sharp, quick inhale when you think of them or talk to them, you definitely have a crush. Yeah, and that would happen. You know, and this is I'm not making any true confessions here, but there are times where I get the hot, fast, sharp breath, and you're like, oh my god.
Mhm.
And so I do have a couple of things written down, and if I don't want to step over what you want to say at all, Wendy, I've got. I like to do this on the radio show. I've got 5 points about when does fantasizing become unhealthy, and I've got my notes here in front of me, and fantasizing isn't always a bad thing. It can be an entirely good thing, as it can act as a way to explore alternative possibilities in your life. How life could unfold, or just be a release valve for a stressful day. So the question becomes, there's no doubt that fantasizing can easily trip over from being healthy and normal to being unhealthy and abnormal. And the question is, where do we draw that line?
But I think it's also amazing if you actually meet someone in life who actually, sometimes you meet someone and you think, in this person, I feel that same energy, the same
Yes.
feedback, that I'm gonna be able to fulfill my fantasy. And we're just talking sexual fantasies right now, intimate fantasies.
Intimate fantasies.
And I think you can meet a lot of people in life and you can have great relationships with them. And, the sex might be great, or you might be really intimate with them. But to actually let yourself go, to let your vulnerability down, your wall down, and actually go, this is my fantasy. And actually have that person where you feel like you've met exactly at the same point and you're both able to fulfill each other's. Now, some men would say that their fantasies is to have more than one woman, more than one woman.
Yes.
The threesome, the groupie, yada, yada, yada. Some women would say that is their fantasy, to have a threesome, whatever,
Sure.
it is. When I was married, I got married twice, as you know, but my first husband, he used to have this fantasy about two women being together, and he'd be like, what do you think of her? Would you sleep with her? Would you be with her? And I was like, no.
Those
And
conversations always happen.
and he would always and then he said to me one day, I actually think the fantasy is better left as a fantasy, because if
Sure.
I brought somebody into that situation, it would take away the intimacy and it would change the dynamics. And I think I know people that have had threesomes, and I know people that have had orgies, and I know people have gone to swingers, all kinds of things. And a lot of them have come back and said to me, I wish I'd never done that, because it really ruined things between us. It really changed it.
I've heard that. I've only had I think one time where it seemed to ruin things when it got intimate, and it was somebody that I hung up with. This was in 2000, so that lets you know how long ago that was. And we hung out everywhere. Everybody thought we were a couple. Even her friends were like, "Are you and Scotty like a thing now?" It's like, no, we're friends. We hang out. I would sleep at her house. She would sleep at my house. We wouldn't, and nothing ever happened because we weren't doing that. And it wasn't like tension, like we're pacing around in different rooms with tension. No, it just didn't happen. And then there was one time she joined me at my family gathering. My mom knew her, my people knew her, and is at a family gathering. And she looked over at me and she said, I think I love you. And I said, really? Well, guess what happened as a result of that? The things that happen between men and women sometimes naturally.
Three words.
And do you know, the funny thing is, we never spoke this to each other, but that seemed to ruin the 2-3 years of being friends that we hung out together.
Yeah.
It was like that happened. Then it happened again another time. And then it was like nobody called anybody. And it was like, it was just everybody, we both moved on. And because the fantasy portion was better as fantasy. Not that the realization wasn't good. It was that you've broken the fantasy ceiling, and now there's no fantasy anymore. I think that's what happened on her part more, and so, and I have to be very careful with my guy ego. I don't think I disappointed her. It wasn't like that. It wasn't that kind of a thing, nor did she me. It just the fantasy element was suddenly gone. It
Mm-hmm.
was like that scrim that would hang between that was called fantasy was removed, and then it became, do we really want to do this? Do we want to go there? Do we want to be this? Do we want to be that? And it just kind of, we never really discussed it. It just kind of drifted, which was sad. It was kind of sad when you think about
And the thing is, some people then get in awe of their like we've all heard people say, "That's my fantasy woman. That's my fantasy man."
it. Yep.
And I've actually dated somebody who actually must have held me in high esteem and in awe,
Mm-hmm.
because they actually were unable to actually get closer to me because they didn't want to ruin it. They didn't want to do anything.
Right.
And it kind of a very crazy one to have, because you're like, one minute you know they want to be with you and they want to make you feel like really good, and then at the same time, when you actually come to that moment of getting closer, being more intimate, and I'm not just talking sex, as I say, because intimacy covers so many things. Oh no, it's like, I want to keep you. And then you have the other ones that are like, oh no, like, I'm going to make sure that we see every sunrise and every sunset.
Right.
So I think that fantasy is such a big, and this is why we looked at this topic tonight with what we saw on the internet. There are women out there that are very, and that's great, very vocal about what they want. I want this. And do you know what? I love that. I love the fact that as women, we've come to a point where we can say, this is what I want, and I'm not prepared to take anything, second. I'm
Right.
going for what I want. And I think that as long as we do it in a way which is healthy, in a
Mm-hmm.
way, because when a guy says what he wants, it can come across quite intimidating, I would say. But when a woman says, this is what I want, and then a woman comes across as very intimidating, very dominant, very bossy, my God, so I do think that there is a line that you cross sometimes of like speaking your truth and saying what you want
Right.
and in your
Right.
fantasy, right?
Right.
And then actually acting on it.
It was like our old shop teacher. He had all the guys together for a shop class once, and he said, I've told this story before. We had this speech impediment from Boston, but he also had this kind of talk like this. And he said, he says, I went out with my wife for a first date, and I looked across the table at her after about 18 minutes. And I said, look, do you want to marry me or what? Because if you don't, I'm not going to waste all my time and money on you.
That's so cool.
And they got married. They've been married like 50 years now.
That's brilliant. That's really.
And they've got 5 sons that all look like him, by the way. They're all men now. But there's that. And there's one other just very brief story I wanted to mention about this whole fantasy thing. When I was at the Renaissance Festival, we were all in costumes. We played rogues. We played romantic rogues. The big black boots and the swords and the leather and all of that. And some woman came up to me. She was a patron. And she said, do you mind if I kiss you? And I looked at my compatriots and I said, gentlemen,
I'm taking one.
shall I concede? Shall I give in to this lovely young lady? And they said, yes, do it. Frobisher was my character. Do it, Frobisher. Do it. And so I said, yes, you may kiss me. But warning, I may kiss you back. And so she kissed me. I kissed her back. And the whole crowds are cheering. They're all clapping because it was kind of a fun thing. Well, she asked for my phone number. And I gave it to her. And we met up. And I got the instant feeling as soon as she saw me not in costume. I showed up in jeans and a shirt and, an untucked shirt and a, hey, how you doing? It was like, if it could have been audible, she'd have went, oh, you're not who I I fantasy fell in love with out at the festival.
She fell in
And
love
so
with
that
the
lasted one
fantasy.
single meeting,
Yeah.
over a cup of coffee. And then she was like, "Oh gosh, I got to run." Because it's not that you don't know this as an adult, a thinking, rational, reasonable person, but what was in her head was the fantasy, not the reality. And so
And some
it's
people
interesting.
fall in love with the fantasy, and
Right.
especially with a long distance situation, because you cannot be with that person.
Yes.
And so you have to imagine lots of things. You have to have that
Right.
kind of fantasy. And the fact is, when you actually meet them, if you get a chance to meet them in person, it's a very different scenario. Now, obviously, I did marry, someone I
Yes.
met, and we were together for 6.5 years. So, and I have to say I was quite lucky that he actually did look like everything, and for a while
Yes.
it was okay. But some people have been duped by people on the internet because they pretend to be someone. They make a woman or a guy will fall in love with them. They will send them money. They will, they promise the whole,
Mm-hmm.
they promise them everything, and then what happens? They either get rooked for their money, or they turn out to be complete. Everyone's seen the program 90 Day Fiance, and they probably know that there's two people on there called Jenny, and I think I've forgotten his name. He's from India, but anyway, Jenny started chatting to this guy. There was a picture of this guy, and she thought, "Oh my God, he's gorgeous. I really want to talk to this guy." So she started to chat with him, and swapping photographs. And then she said, "Can we have a video call?" And he was like, "Well, oh, okay." And then when they video called, completely different person, completely,
That's it.
completely. And she was like, "You're not the guy in the picture." And he said, "I thought if you actually saw the real me, you wouldn't fall in
Oh,
love with me." But she'd fallen in love with how he'd spoken to her, but in her head, she'd had that guy, that
yes.
picture of that guy. So they ended up married. They're still married. They live in India. She lives in
Really?
India now. She left the United States to go and be with him in India, and she had to go through all lots of trials and tribulations. That's the last time I watched 90 Day Fiance, a long time ago. But I always remember their story because, it just goes to show that sometimes we want to be someone we're actually not. We want to
Yes.
fulfill a fantasy that we actually know we're never going to do. I have a friend of mine. She's fulfilled quite a few men's fantasies, and some of them involved being spanked to the inch of their life. Some
Oh my
involve
goodness.
some of them
It
are
is not a fantasy of mine.
but
Oh, spank me. Not.
I mean, when she's talking spanking, she's not talking spanking. She's talking absolutely, hurting them until they say enough is enough, until you use that safe word. Another one was they wanted to wear a nappy and all that kind of lot, and be treated like the baby. And she
That
just
just
couldn't
makes
go
me
along with
laugh.
that one, I don't think, if I recall rightly.
I'm sorry,
Um,
that is also not a fantasy of mine.
and then there's been the other ones, where they'll want you to dress up as, you'll date a guy or you'll see a guy and he'll want you to dress in a particular
Oh,
outfit.
yeah.
Little Red Riding Hood, nurse, policewoman, all kinds of outfits. And, they seem to be a massive fantasy thing, like to Travis. She sounds like fun company at a good.
Travis Thorpe is here.
She is very good company.
He's
Yes,
my
she is.
priest.
Oh, she is
Pagan
very
priest.
good company. But that's what I'm saying is, everything is individual. So like for me, I always like the idea of a guy dressing up as, dare I say it, a vicar, with the whole white,
No.
the vicar and everything, right?
This
And
will
then
be our little secret.
stroking him, right? And getting him on his knees and being completely, wicked to him. That was one of mine.
Talk wicked to me.
Read
Read me that passage out of Revelation. Read me that passage out of Revelation. The dirty
it's like,
one.
yeah, tell me your sins, and also the other thing as well, which I find, it's one, secret. The more confident a guy is, the more dominant a guy is, the quicker the sort of, I can't believe I'm actually saying this.
Say it.
The more confident a guy is, the more dominant he is. He's got a very successful life. He's dominant with every other woman. He's the kind of guy that I want to bring him to his knees. Right?
You want to break out the high-heeled boots
and I
whip,
have had that
riding
opportunity,
crop.
in my lifetime, and it's a power thing. It's a power thing, and that's the thing about fantasies; they're really powerful.
Like I said this morning, just remember, I am greatness. I am brilliant.
Absolutely.
And you are too, almost as equally as great and brilliant as I am.
Yeah.
So, and you have to bring them down. I see. See, now I will say, I have never been, when it comes to fantasy, my fantasy is more like, can we have sex tonight? Yes. Yay! My fantasy is being fulfilled. I'm just happy to be there.
Yeah.
And, but I've never fantasized the kink. I'm not into the, oh, please, mistress, ball and gag me. Please, mistress, take your horse crop and whip me across my bare arse. And it's never been a thing. Oh, please, more. It's never been a thing for me. It's been, I like, maybe it's because I fantasize about the real I like the real thing. I don't like the put on. It seems like artifice to me, some of that stuff. Now, that doesn't mean it's wrong for anybody else who likes it. That doesn't mean it's wrong for somebody that I would be involved with, but it's like, yeah, okay, we'll do the kink thing tonight. Tomorrow night, we'll do it on top of the fridge.
Let me ask you a question then. Do you like vanilla sex, or do you like something a bit more Neapolitan?
So, Antoninus, some men prefer oysters, others prefer clams. Do you like clams or oysters? Antoninus? Antoninus? No, sorry, the quote from Spartacus. But so am I a vanilla or a what?
Well, vanilla is obviously borrowing normal sex, and a lot of people's idea is vanilla. So if you're not vanilla, then you like a bit of, wow, chicka wow wow.
Oh, chicka wow wow. Wait, do we have to play your music again?
God.
So Wendy, please tell me, what was that again?
Vanilla sex, darling.
Oh, well, why isn't it playing? It's supposed to be playing. Well, that just didn't work, did it?
Well, let me tell you, like
Never mind.
Some of the most, Matthew, when we talk about vanilla ice cream, we are not talking about vanilla ice cream.
No, we're not
vanilla.
talking about vanilla ice cream.
It actually means normal sex, missionary, basic sex.
Oh,
is vanilla.
You know what? Okay, yeah, I'm all about fantasy. I'm all about missionaries, great. But sometimes I like doggy. Sometimes I like her on top. Sometimes I like the top of the refrigerator. Sometimes, the back seat of the car in the park. That's fantasy for me. Travis Thorpe said, it's probably because you spent so much of your life living fantasy for your life. So your fantasy is anti-fantasy. That's interesting. That's a thank point. You, Dr. Thorpe. I think, maybe he's right about that.
It's interesting because Freud says the first man and woman we ever fall in love with and have fantasies about are our mother and father, right?
Okay.
Now, I find that very hard. He was one of my favorite counseling people, but Freud I absolutely loved. But, if you think about it,
I preferred Adler. So.
We grow up with an image of a man and a woman. My dad was a wild one. He had many affairs. You know, I never wanted to be with my dad. My brother turned out to be very similar. So, but I was always drawn to this image of the tall, dark, handsome, you know, ice blue eyes or green eyes, or something like that. And predominantly have dated quite a few like that, and then also dated people completely different.
Yes.
So it's like the men saying they're into blondes or brunettes. But I pulled up the most eight fantasies that are very, very common for women.
All
First one is being dominated. They're looking for their Christian Grey. Nearly 65% of women.
Wait, let me write these things down.
About nearly 65% of women fantasize about being dominated sexually. According to a survey of more than 1,000 people, there's a reason that 50 Shades of Grey made such an impact. That is true. Doggy is vanilla as well. Very, very true.
What was that, Rudy? Oh. Bada boom.
Bada boom.
Hello.
BDSM is alluring because one partner relinquishes all sense of control and gives it to the other person. They're submissive to the other person, touching them, but subconsciously give them permission to be wild, orgasmic, and don't hold back. So that is the first fantasy, as being dominated. The second one, but when we're talking about fantasy and being dominated, though, it's very much something you must talk about with each other before you just go into it. Because literally, you know, you and your partner kind of got to want this, right?
Yes. Honey, could we talk about this first? Travis Thorpe likes all shades of ice cream: vanilla, Neapolitan,
chocolate, and
chocolate, mint green. Oh, there we go with the Orion slave girl again. But you know, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Travis, I'm a firm believer.
So the next one is having a threesome. Many people, in fact, 89% of 4,175 Americans absolutely said they admitted to fantasy about wanting a threesome with other people. And some of them wanted their partner with them, and some of them didn't. And
what is the fascination? Here's a great question. Just on that side point, if anybody else can talk about this, I'm not talking about the strictly puritanical, not as a negative word, aspect of saying, oh, I could never do a three-way, you know, even with my spouse. But then there are other people who are like, yeah, bring it, either party. And so what is the big taboo for people there? Is it that you've given yourself to somebody on an intimate level and you expect it to be that way all the time? You want it to be that way all the time, is the way I should say it. And who usually is the progenitor of the threesome idea? Is it usually males?
I think it's both. I absolutely think it's both. And I know of a guy who basically wanted his wife to be part of a threesome. He wanted to go to swingers and watch other people doing it. You know, he wanted to. They thought if they brought that into their relationship, it would liven it up. But actually, it tore them apart.
It doesn't. I've heard that on more levels. It's not that there are some people that are made that way. They're fine. They can do that. There are other people that it would. I've heard more friends, acquaintances, people I know that have done that, and it's kind of torn they root their problems, and well, this is what kind of divided us, and it ended our relationship. Not immediately, but
I also wonder if there's a feeling of feeling wanted. And imagine you're with somebody, and it's their fantasy. To have a threesome with you. And what happens is you go along with it for their sake, right? And next thing you know, hello, there's three of you there.
Right.
What would happen? This is why when my ex-husband and I used to talk about it, he actually said to me, if we did a threesome and it was with a guy, I would actually.
Keep talking. I have to take this. It's my
Okay.
daughter. Sorry, on the radio, folks.
I would actually realize that what if you actually preferred them to me? What if you actually thought about them more than me? What if being with them changed your view of me? What if you actually started talking to them or texting them or having phone calls with them and then going off and having sex with them, which led to an affair? So it can be really, really dangerous to go down that road. You both have got to be of that mindset and take the consequences that it goes with. Personally, it's never been my bag, but I know people that have done it and are, some of them said it was. And also, why is it a lot of people want, they'll ask their best friend to be part of it, or they'll say, I've got a friend. If I do it with a friend, it'll feel better.
Hey, you're my friend.
Yay!
You want to have sex with my wife with me?
Just pop over.
Or the other way around. You're my girlfriend. You want to have sex with my husband with me?
But a lot of people ask a friend because they say, I want to do it with someone I feel safe with. There is no way I want to go with my friends, my female friends, and particularly 99.9% of my male friends, and go, because there's always that one person that you think, well, maybe I'd date them, but and have a threesome, because it's like you've changed the dynamics. And I remember, like, years ago, winding up an ex-boyfriend and actually saying to him with a friend at the time, oh yeah, we thought, we're up for a threesome. And he was like, what? And we were like, yeah, we thought, we do it with each other, nice and safe. Do you want to be part of it? He went nuts and went, well, come on then. If you want it, let's do it. And that was exactly the attitude.
Nuts in the good way.
He started, he was like not that particularly happy, and he started getting undressed. Oh. And we were like, no.
All right, let's do it. I'm ready. Let me get all this off now.
We were like, no, we're only joking. And that's what I'm saying. It can tear you apart.
Rainey came home once with a friend of hers that was maybe 10 years younger than she was, hot as hot can be. And they both walked in, and they had been out having a couple of drinks. And this is about 10 years ago. And she said something like, I said, well, hey, how you doing? She goes, fine. You want to go downstairs and fuck? And Rainey was standing there. I went, and Rainey's looking at me smiling. Like, I'm like, is this a thing?
That's brilliant.
And then they both started laughing at me.
I actually can't put that on screen. Can you put Elvis's on screen?
Elvis on screen?
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Oh, yeah. By the way, Travis Thorpe, I don't know if you talked about this. It was my daughter. I had to take that call because she's out of the house and wandering with friends. And he said, my relationship was stronger for it. He said, the three of us had been together for 6 years. Travis is married to 2 women within his tradition. And before you get any pictures in your mind, I think one of them is like a successful banker. The other one is a successful something else. I don't know what they all do. They've got kids together, and so Travis, you've got your hands full there, brother. But
And the thing is, like, I would find that difficult to do because I wouldn't want to. I can see why having 2 or more women or 2 or more men, and that's the thing. Like, how come they can have 2 wives and we can't have 2 husbands? Because it should be equals for both.
Polygamy is polygamy. For good or bad. I don't use the word negatively, just as a descriptor.
Sometimes, your other husband or your other wife's driving you nuts and crazy, and and then you want to go and seek out the other one, or they can have a great relationship. Personally, I couldn't share a partner because I'd be like, no, there's only room for one woman, and that's me. There's only room for one. So the next fantasy is having sex with other women. That's number 3 of the top.
Men or women having sex with other women?
Women having sex with other women.
Okay.
Wanting to, basically, they can be straight, but wanting to try out to see what it's all about, because there's that old saying, one woman knows how to, make another woman feel good. And they know all about that story, of course. So... And then number 4, because I'm trying to get through them before we run out of time.
Yeah, go.
Enjoying a romp in public. So having sex in public is number 4.
A
So
romp in public.
if you just want to whop out and hands up everybody that's had sex in public. Hands up.
Okay.
Are we putting the hands up?
I'm not putting my hands up. Say that again. Maybe I missed something.
Putting my hands up.
I just saw somebody was calling into the show, and I was reading who was calling in. So
Yeah,
so what?
so basically it's like having, sex in public. They get off. It's a fantasy of other people have
Sure.
raised got 2 hands off.
Travis, both hands up. If his hands are up, then mine are too, because I think a lot like him. But
And there's a bit of liberation and empowerment. Do you know what I mean about having sex outside and having people watch you as well? It can be really, really empowering. And I can understand that. The next one is having sex with total strangers. So you've all had this, in your dreams, you have sex with a sexy stranger, and you're like, I don't know who this is, but
I think that's where a lot of the fantasy comes in. You fantasize about people, so.
Exactly.
And I just want to tell you, there's not a lot of room in an airplane bathroom. That's all I got to say about that.
And then the next one is mixing pain with pleasure. Now, this is something very close to my heart, obviously, but it's like going back to those 50 Shades fantasies. 65% of people fantasize about receiving pain, whether in the form of spanking, biting, dipping hot wax onto you, whatever it is, pinching, whatever. A lot of people are into the whole, S&M department. And pain brings you into feeling like alive, and the moment it wakes up the body, and it can be very sensual as well. Plus it's very powerful. And then the next one, making love in a romantic location. So the beach, under the moon, under the stars.
The beach. All I have to say about the beach is sand in unlikely locales. So carry on.
And that was it was the last one. That was the 8 top fantasies that this survey came out for the ladies. That's the one I picked up. And I know you picked up a few as well, didn't you?
Did I pick up a few fantasies? You
said it was 5 points. What was that?
I had 5 points about when fantasies become unhealthy.
Yes.
I can still go through those. I can give you some of those. The first factor, when there's too much time that you devote to fantasy, the singular best way to figure out whether your level of fantasizing is unhealthy is to try to quantify the amount of time that you spend doing it and fantasizing. So, Wendy, is it more than 4 minutes a day? Is it more than 2 hours a day? So that could quantify it for you. What is good fantasy? What is bad fantasy? You could, let's just give you the second point. So whether fantasizing gives energy or drains it from you. So if your fantasizing gives you energy and it builds you up, then even if you do it quite a bit throughout the day, it's not necessarily an unhealthy thing. The whole idea of manifestation, which I'm a big proponent of, is that fantasizing about aspirational things throughout the day can give you the energy necessary to accomplish those aspirational things. And for most, their fantasies are going to be emotionally charged enough that they don't actually give energy, but drain it. Oh, there's so many entendres here that I could walk right into. So you read my mind, Wendy. You've known me too long.
I do.
When you make your real life worse because you have less energy to complete the tasks you've set out for, or even just to think about what tasks that you should be completing. So if you feel that your fantasizing is draining you of energy, then it's safe to say that it's probably unhealthy. A third one out of the 5, whether fantasizing creates residual distractions. An underrated, and you,
It's just
what
Elvis's.
are you laughing?
Look at Elvis's comment that he's just put up. I can't hear anything Scotty is saying because I'm still thinking about topic number 4.
You got him way back on number 4.
What was number 4? Why? Let me just work
Which
that
one
back.
was that for you, Elvis? What
It
was
was
number 4?
enjoying a romp in public.
Oh, enjoying a romp in public.
Mm.
Well, I've done that.
Yep.
And
Done
you
it.
get more worried about, I'm not a free spirit. I'm not like, hey, everyone, look at my boner while I'm having sex with my woman. Yes, crowds gather around. It wasn't like that. It's like you kind of secreted away. Oh, we're under the picnic blanket. Nobody's going to know what we're doing. Yeah, right. Pull this leg and it'll play Jingle Bells. So, so anyway, when you're at work and you find yourself thinking about your fantasies from your real world perspective, you aren't actually engaged in those fantasies at the time, but still loosely thinking about them. And so that's kind of okay. But the distraction can impede your ability to focus if you over fantasize. All right. You have great shoulders. Have I told you that today?
You haven't.
You have great shoulders.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I mean that all prurient
I know you
bullshit
do.
aside. You have nice shoulders. There you go. I just noticed that as I was looking at my notes, and I looked back and you were like, ee, ha, ooh. And I'm like, oh, nice shoulders.
Thank
Now,
you.
is that a fantasy to see most superb shoulders?
Well, I think shoulders in a woman
I
are
have a
very.
shoulder fetish.
I think
So-
shoulders are sexy anyway.
They
because,
are.
the neck is a very attractive a part of the body. So I think that
Oh, hold on. Scotty, you have great shoulders too, King. Why, thank you.
Elvis is saying he needs ice cubes because it's getting hot in here.
Yeah. It's only one of us makes it hot in here. So, see, and I can say that because we're talking about fantasy.
Honey, you and I have known each other for so long. We can say anything to each
yeah.
other. It's the thing, right?
Yeah. And those of you who don't know, we've known each other almost 2 decades. So, anyway, moving on with my points. Number 4, whether fantasizing interferes with your long-term planning. What about that? Engaging in excessive fantasizing or maladaptive daydreaming, they call it in psychological circles, has a tendency to crowd out much of your more abstract thinking about your real life. For example, something that's essential for us all to do is to make long-term plans, along with our short-term plans. And the way most of us do it is not by sitting down with a piece of paper and really thinking. Rather, we think about our long-term plans in the back of our mind as we go about our days, or even engage in daydreams about those things, and we try to sort out the right path to move forward. But if you're having excessive fantasies or maladaptive daydreaming, much of the spare time in your waking life is going to be spent in these fantasies of daydreams, and thereby interfere. What was that? Never mind.
It was Elvis again. Field guy has left the building. He has overheated.
Oh, I just saw you move toward the camera. And I went, oh, what? So, sorry, but I make no apologies.
Oh
are you going like this? Oh.
You made me blush for a minute there, Scotty. You made me blush.
Oh, yes. That was my goal today. So if you feel like you haven't thought a lot about your real life and your real life plans objectively for quite a long time, that's probably a really good signal that you're engaging probably in some unhealthy amount of fantasizing. And then the 5th one and the last one, You have to figure whether fantasizing disrupts day-to-day life, not just your long distance. What about the stuff you're supposed to do? Honey, how come you didn't bring home a loaf of bread? Oh, I forgot I was fantasizing. But this factor is a bit of a catch-all, though. Some who are engaged in excessive amounts of fantasizing, their real life is routinely disrupted by those fantasies. They'll be trying to get some work done and feel the inescapable pull of their fantasies. And if this is the case, then your fantasies are per se unhealthy. While it's entirely normal to fantasize, it's entirely abnormal for your fantasies to begin to actively disrupt your real life. So while there's no objective way to know when your fantasizing becomes unhealthy, these factors should really help us. Those 5 different things. So anyway, there it is. Wendy, do you ever feel yourself being distracted by fantasy? Or I'm going to answer your question for you because I know you, but I want you to fill in the blanks. I see you as a pretty normal, reasonable, rational, thinking, planning person. Do you have fantasies? Yeah. I've heard some of them.
Yeah.
Boy, you folks, wouldn't you like to know? And but I don't see you as somebody that over fantasizes. You're almost overly realistic. And it's like, this is real and this is real. That's fantasy. I could do that. But, so what do you think?
Because I think I know what fantasy I can get and what fantasy I can't get. And that's not to say that, you don't aim for it or you don't go for it. But it comes back to what I said in the beginning. If you know that you are aiming for something you're never going to get or someone you're never going to get, then that fantasy can become unhealthy and it becomes
Unhinged.
an obsession. And it's like that's how stalkers happen. That's how, the next thing you know, you've got someone messaging you all the time and sending you stuff and outside your front door or ringing you all the time or messaging you or making you feel uncomfortable. I have had that in my time. I have met people in my life that have done that. And it's like, you need to step the fuck back, right?
Yeah. By the way, Sarah Soderlin, I've got her comment up. Dear friend of mine. She is a lot of things. I've known her for a long time. We first met at the Stanley Hotel at one of the ghost hunting events. And back in 07 or 08, something like that. And she is psychic, a medium. And I think one of those good ones because she's not like, I'm psychic. No, she knows her stuff and she's good at it. She was once, if not still, a doctoral candidate for forensic psychology. In forensic psychology, if I got that right. If I don't, Sarah, just let me live in my little fantasy land. Dr. Sarah with the glasses. And but she says fantasy as growth is one thing. Fantasy as avoidant, disassociative, distractive, bad. And I see the bad in all caps. I'm thinking, is that a psychological acronym for something?
Don't forget, some fantasies can turn into crimes. Like some people will live out their fantasies.
She deals with people in her job that are criminals. People have killed people. People have done, and then she's got to interview them and do. And Sarah, if I'm remembering those details right, oh, you're 2 years short of your doctorate, but I need money. Man, ain't that the truth?
When I worked in probation and I worked in prisons as well, like you would hear stories from these guys, because I predominantly worked in a male prison, and you'd think, whoa, right? It was, when I remember walking into the vulnerable part of the prison where they have like the dangerous crims and the vulnerables are with them as well. and it was like being in a cage full of monkeys going absolutely crazy. And it was like, thank God there's a wall between us. I'm not saying that's everyone's experience. That was my first experience that I'd had. But I think that there are a point that fantasies can become dangerous. You know, some people live out their fantasies, and that's how rape can happen, how murder, or I mean, asphyxiation, tying up, all kinds of things. It can go to the extreme as well. Very much.
Yes, it can. And by the way, I just have to say, I agree with Travis Slurp. Travis knows Sarah as well. In real life, we're all real life friends. But he said, Dr. Sarah Soderlund, growl. And yes, Sarah Soderlund has fantasy elements about her for just about any guy that would set eyes upon her. But she's a friend of mine, and I love her input. Like here, I love putting her stuff up. Fantasizing about killing your loved one can make loving them hard.
Mm-hmm.
Fantasizing about one's body can create distance in relationships. Fantasizing about choking but not knowing the real measurements. Get careful.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that last one was about.
I think it's an emoji or something like that.
Could be. So I love Sarah's input.
She's right. Jealousy. Michelle's very true. Jealousy is a very dangerous part of it as well. Like, because imagine you're with someone and someone else wants to be with them, then you're going to suffer from jealousy. And there's an unhealthy, underlined thing going on, right? And that to someone obsessing and wanting and fantasizing. Women that want babies, that fantasize about having babies. Some women have gone out and kidnapped other women and cut babies out of them because they've fantasized about it. It's such a big topic. And when we talked about it tonight, through just seeing those things, it's taken us down a very different road of like the good, the funny, and the, oh my God, really?
Right. Now, can't remember his first name, the fellow Chapman, who was a Chapman that shot Ronald Reagan back in 1982. And he did it because he thought he would impress his fantasy love, Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
That's kind of sick, I think. That's an extreme sense of sickness, I think. Sarah says jealousy, to have, take from, possess. And that fantasy becomes worth it all. Choose your fantasies wisely.
Absolutely.
Boom.
Bada boom.
There it is. I like the funny, said Travis. So,
have you ever had a fantasy said to you that you've gone, I can't do that?
No. But then again, I don't always air my fantasies. I'm realistic. I have my fantasies.
Yeah.
Say there's somebody, I'm thinking of somebody real right now that I know. If I had a fantasy that would be like, oh, I'd love to run off to Egypt, Timbuktu with you. Adventure. We'll dress like we just got out of Banana Republic, and we'll have a big canvas tent, and we'll fuck every night, and then we'll go lion hunting during the day, and then we'll breakfast in Paris. There's a fantasy there. Is there a real person that I could attach it? Sure, there is. Would I ever air that to that person? No, because that's the imaginative. I see some of my fantasies are part of things. I write them in books. Sometimes I make up stories. It's what I do for a living. I write stories. I tell stories. And so to me, some of that is part of the storytelling. And I tell stories to myself. Do you know? And fantasies don't always have to be sexual. Did you know I have sometimes fantasized about being a starship captain?
Oh, I don't know where that one came from.
Engage. But yes, so I have sometimes fantasized that.
Yeah.
Do I think that will ever come into fruition? No. So any of you, the day you hear me start saying, I'm a starship captain, and we're going to beam up this next hour, we're going to beam up and we're going to go explore the galaxy together, and then see me get really disgruntled and disappointed because I can't raise anybody on my communicator, you're going to know I've taken my fantasy a little bit too hard and too far. So,
Sarah comes up with,
hey, Audrey.
did
Oh,
clients,
bye, Audrey.
did clients of Robertson, usually Scotty's got Roberts up, but tonight he's Scotty. Did clients of Robertson have popular themed fantasies? I seem to get the same one with different people, different places. Some of them weren't the nicest, that's for sure. A lot of it is rape and overpowering and control is very, very, very popular. The other one
rape. Really, is rape?
Yes.
Do people fantasize? I could never fantasize
about
it's
power. It's
forcibly having someone do something that they don't want to do. That would not be, or that I'm forcing on them. That to me is that wouldn't be an enjoyable fantasy for me. I would never want to take somebody against their will because I want them involved.
They like that idea. It's like giving, especially if they are, here she comes, my girl's here. Literally, if you are into that and you tell, like that woman said on the thing tonight, she's actually advertising for a guy to meet him because she wants him to rape her and she wants to be, she wants him to be like, basically just put her all over the place. And to me, that's my idea of hell. But some women and some guys, they're into that.
Yeah.
It's not, and I'm not into, I would never want to watch my partner have sex with someone else. That would drive me insane. And there would be,
unless their partner was having sex with me. No, I just had to throw that in there. You go right ahead, honey. No,
I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it. It's like, no, I'm enough, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And I also think as well,
you should be
with stuff like, you should technically. But then what happens if you have a very lonely life? All you've got is your fantasies, and people live them out on the internet.
Yeah. Sarah, she knows me pretty well too. Mindfuck. Perhaps our fantasies are the other multiverse realities of us. Maybe somewhere Scotty is a
Captain
captain.
Yep.
I am greatness. I am brilliance. Alas, I am grounded.
KB right is in the room. Hello, Mr.
Thank you, Sarah.
Fabulous.
That is a good mindfuck, by the way. Seriously.
KB is in the room with us.
KB is here.
Whoa.
By the way, Travis says, only time I had a bad time sexually is when this woman was expressing her rape fantasy to me and kept trying to make that happen. It was very off-putting. I can only imagine. That wouldn't do it for me. That's just not a...
And some people have this thing about being choked. And I mean, look at Michael Hutchinson, who was Paulie Yates' lover. He was the singer of In Excess. He's supposed to have died by,
asphyxiation.
Yeah, like, doing it to himself because it was, he got off on it, and she said he never would have done that. He never would have killed himself. And a lot of people to have that moment. Absolutely, cyberspace does allow people to live out their fantasies. It's not real. And it's
but it's not real. That's the thing. And
I always say to someone, if you meet someone on the internet, actually till you physically meet them and you're in the room with them and you spend time with them, you cannot 100% say that, this is real, because up to that point, it's like, it's not reality. It is reality, but it's not reality. And I think a lot of people meet people over the internet and they have these, oh my God, he's so great, or she's so wonderful, and I'm really into them. And actually the reality is completely different.
Yes. And I will tell you, Sarah, that I'm not so much into cyber psych spaces, but I could use a holodeck.
Yeah,
I could wear out a holodeck really quick. Those of you who don't know Star Trek don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Oh, I think we all know by now, Scotty.
I hope so. And Ken Ballos, of course, yes, is in the room. Good to see you, Kenny.
Oh, it's good to see you, Ken. We love you.
Big time.
And Val is here as well.
Excuse me. Ow. My throat. I don't know why I put my hand there. So Sims characters fucking, says Sarah. They've got a Sims game that'll do that now. Typing and bonding, acting out fantasy isn't cheating. Sarah, that's kind of like, you remember you were on radio with Rocky and I many times when Rocky pulled out Scotty, so let's say, you have sex with a ghost. Is that like cheating? And I'm like, what? Because we were at a totally different topic. And so is doing the Sims cheating, the Sims fucking, the Sims sexual fantasy stuff in a video game, is that
I think that
cheating?
anything that involves being perhaps, and the other partner's not aware of it,
Stimulated,
I think it is a form.
auto stimulation.
But then having said that, when how can I put this nicely? When we're having our alone time and we're upstairs with either our little Bob, as Val likes to call it, or with a guy's alone, Bob. You are imagining perhaps someone else or something else. Mm-hmm. Are your fantasies cheating? Are you cheating
good
on
question.
Your thinking of someone else in the mind? That's a thought.
Well, now the interesting thing though isn't thought. Thought is contained within the mind, the body, the brain. Uh-huh. Thinking a fantasy is one thing. What if you are going out and you're using tools for the fantasy, so to speak, and you've got a video game that creates, that's my character over there fucking the neighbor. Yeah. Is that something that is a good thing to be doing? Does that remove the fantasy from being mental or psychological or emotional? Yeah. Does that make it something else now? Sarah said, agreed, Travis. Desensitizing is real. So that's the slippery slope of cheating. Wouldn't you want to do that eventually? Well, that's it. If you're fantasizing about it, if you're playing a video game about it, how close would it be to go out and do it? If the opportunity arises, you desensitize your brain to it. It's like they talk about, kids doing all the killing in video games and stuff. Does that make kids more? Sarah, there's a question for you. Can kids become desensitized enough about killing in a video game that they could go out and do it?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the thing is, like, anything can become your reality if you do it long enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can actually, law of attraction is the more you put out there, the more you think about it, the more it can bring it into your life, no matter how they bring it in.
Now, Sarah, I've never heard of this psychologically, but orgasm manifestation is the new fad. I didn't realize it was a fad is what I meant. I haven't heard that it goes this way. The idea that you plan your future reality and use tantric energy to do it. See, and I'm someone, if I use tantric energy, I don't know I'm doing it because I don't know exactly how to make that work. I don't know what's involved in implementing tantric energy. So, but I can only imagine. I have a pretty good concept of it.
Well, it's like sex magic, isn't it? Like as Travis says, Aleister Crowley talked about, the fact that when you orgasm, you go to a different plane, a different height. It takes you somewhere beyond this realm. It's possible to do that.
So if VR tools are cheating, says Travis, is a dildo. If it's something else other than your partner alone and you're fantasizing, is that cheating?
Well, it depends, because if your partner knows you've got them and they're fine about you, which, let's be honest, why would you want to be with a partner? How can I put this rightly? Think your words through, Wendy. If you're with a partner and they're into the whole tool department, right? Mm-hmm. Then it doesn't matter, because you're both into it and you both have your gadgets to play and explore with. If they're not into it and they don't like you doing it, they could actually think, well, why are you doing it with them when aren't I good enough for you? Aren't I, why are you fantasizing about someone else while you're doing that?
Are there some people that would believe masturbation all by itself is cheating?
Yes, some can. Absolutely.
What are you thinking about?
Oh,
you, honey.
I don't believe that everybody thinks of their partner. I do not believe that everyone thinks of their partner when they're doing that.
Sarah says sex toys are tools, not objects of affection, interest, or at least not for me, she says. So, yeah, and that's a good point. You haven't transferred your affection to the tool or the toy. It's the outcome you're going for. So I get that. Makes sense to me. Makes sense to me.
I mean, men have their own gadgets, I mean, there's things like the fleshlight, which has brought so much into, for guys to have things like that, it's not just women that have the gadgets now.
Valerie says, I think cheating is doing something behind your partner's back. So is that like, hey, honey, I'm going to go watch porn and masturbate now, okay? Just stay out of my office for an hour.
Just give me the 20 minutes.
And 20 minutes. 20 minutes. 42.
42, you were counting?
I clocked it. That's I've had times my own wife has said, oh, just leave me alone. Why don't you just go watch some porn? And I'm like,
but I also think
I want flesh and blood.
You need to be realistic as well, right?
Yes.
You need to be realistic. If you're fantasizing about something or somebody and that person is either not interested in doing it with you or that situation is never going to happen, because some of it is crazy fantasies that you think, like, I'm just trying to pick someone out of the blue. Like, I want to have sex with Brad Pitt. I know it's going to happen. He's going to pick me one day. We're going to have wild, passionate sex. And there is that one, maybe a chance that could happen, of course. But realistically, the choice is that it's probably not going to happen. So I think you need to be realistic and actually make your fantasies real in your own life and with with a person that absolutely fantasizes about you back. Why would you be with someone who doesn't fantasize about you as well, right?
I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to be with somebody who doesn't want to be with me, who doesn't want to fantasize about me. Boy, how many of us would find ourselves digging our own hole, so to speak, or unlocking a certain door if we all said offhandedly, I don't want to be with somebody who doesn't want to be with me. Oh, wait a minute. Travis says, so could the VR also be seen as a tool since men are visual and women are emotional? We've talked about that on this show before. Men, all we need is, women like to be romanced. They might like a good looking guy. It's all that, but women have different needs, different things that get their motors going, and guys are like they'll see a woman, they'll be like, oh, hello. And so we're visual. We're made differently. Women aren't not that women aren't visual. It's that's not the major drive. That's not the go button all the time in a woman. But since men are visual and women are emotional, says Travis, when sexually speaking.
But I think if you can't find someone, right, to have your fantasy with, and it's a really big part of your life, right, you will go look for it. I guarantee you, if your personal life, if whoever you're with in your personal life as a partner, if they don't fulfill you, if they don't fulfill your fantasies, as in a way together that both work together, and they're like, no, I'm not into that. I'm not doing it. I don't want anything with it. Even if it's a position or toy or whatever, you need to have common ground. You need to have things in common, and they will and have done. Go look for it elsewhere.
Yeah.
Pocket pussies and shower heads are popular.
Yes,
and when
they
they
are.
get named and used against me in arguments, it starts to build emotional resentment. I think it's a personal thing. Absolutely.
There you go.
I know quite a few ladies with their shower heads.
Yes. And when they get named and used against me, it's in arguments, it starts to build resentment. So what the last thing she said before she said she has to go, but she'd still be listening, is, Travis, I think that's why women get so offended at porn and men don't.
And because I also think that we get offended by porn, sorry, Scotty, is that porn is predominantly for men. And there's not enough porn for us women. Because I actually think, if they asked us, well, we wouldn't mind seeing a wow with a really, a guy, and it's not we actually not all of us want romance, and some of us, I'm not talking personally, I'm just saying some of us want different things. They want a different kind of scenario. And Michelle's right, soul connection is
Yes.
so important. To meet someone who's on the same mental level as you, emotionally, sexually, spiritually, is just if you have all three together, wow, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh, hey, Michael is sitting in here. I've had my mic up. I just saw you when I moved over. I hope you weren't waiting too long there, brother.
Never long. I was going to say the doctor's in. Put the glasses on. I can't
We
see.
can't
Yes,
see
we
you
can't
though.
see you.
Oh,
You're
okay.
silhouetted.
Not again.
Oh, okay. Now you can see me. All right.
Closer. There you go.
I don't own a tie like Scotty, so I have to get
Dr. Sexkin. Oh, do you have a cravat on? Oh.
Dr. Sexkin.
But no, like I said, if you can see me
So,
better.
Dr. Sexkin, you've been listening in.
Dr.
What do you
Sexkin,
recommend?
No, that's talking about desensitized. When you get desensitized, like the kids and the fantasies of killing. I know the DoD has spent millions and millions of dollars on simulated war games,
Yes.
and it's for the kids ever go into a real life combat scenario. I'm talking these are full size vehicles, full size working weapon systems. The Brownings and all this stuff. And and when it gets there, it's almost like it's muscle memory. You have to use the actions. They're real air operated weapons. And I always thought, you want to talk about a gamer's fantasy. If I had $1 billion to spend on a simulator, when you got a full size Humvee that with the 360-degree things that goes around,
Right.
when I walked into it, I know every soldier that I was like, Jesus Christ, I want one of these, in my back room. But your back room would have to be the size of a football field. But
Right.
But here's a question for both you boys. Were you guys encouraged to talk about your fantasies from a young age? Like, we all talked about perhaps with our mates and stuff like that. But did you guys come from backgrounds where you were encouraged to talk about them and
no, the fantasy was go to work. The fantasy was, hey, when the work was done, you could get to sit down and be done for the day. Learning
Now,
oh,
Stevie J says something here that I got to read it to make sure I'm quite understanding where you're coming. Learn which things you should keep private, and you will avoid many problems with your partner. But wouldn't that then also spill over into I'm fucking the secretary, but if I keep that private, I'm okay at home.
that's it.
Stevie, maybe you're give me a little more context to that, because I'm thinking with the person that you love and you spend your life with and you're married to, isn't that the person you're supposed to be able to be honest about everything you do? What is it? Somebody out there, Wendy, tell me, Michael, tell me, anybody, what are the good things to keep secret from your spouse?
Nothing.
does my answer look too big in this?
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
Yeah.
well, what's the old joke? Does this dress make my ass look fat? No,
Yeah.
your butt does.
Well, what is it? What is it? Said the wife came in and said you can be completely honest with me. I won't get mad. Tell me the truth. He said, I've been fucking your sister. He said, I don't know. He said he's like, okay. But but like I said, men who are in relationships, especially long-term relationships,
Yeah.
when she comes in and says, how do I look in this? You better learn to lie pretty quick if she don't look pretty good in it. Or it's
That's,
gonna be,
that's right.
It's going to
Well,
be a
then-
shitty day.
I am also, though, of the mind to say, my wife asked me that because she wants approval for what she's wearing. And I'm speaking in a generality here. But wouldn't it be incumbent upon me as the man who loves her that if that thing made her look awful and I lied to her and she went out in it, and let's say hypothetically saw pictures of herself later or whatever might happen, and she's like, why didn't you tell me I looked that way in that? Well, because I lied to make you feel good. So is it not? I think it's all about tact on the table, the way you say things, the love for your spouse has to show through on it. And wouldn't it be, do these jeans make me look fat? And I say, well, first of all, honey, you're not fat. That's all in your head. But you might feel that you're not very flattering in those, and maybe I've seen more flattering pants on you. Why don't you try on those other ones?
That's
Whatever. I'm making up a hypothetical as I go here.
Can you bring up Anita's comment, please? Because she's just asked a question.
Anita.
And I was just going to come back to you boys to ask a question. Wendy, did you find people abused were turned away from? Can you send me that a question again, Anita? Because I think I need to have a bit more information what that is. Did you find that you two, have you lived your fantasies? Have you say that when you leave this planet, you've lived your fantasies, your sexual fantasies?
Oh yeah.
I know that there are times in the afterglow of sex I can die a happy man now. Now, I was being flippant. I don't really want to die, but I almost forgot your question.
So
Anita asked, do you find people who were abused were turned away from fantasy or sex?
Yes, because obviously they've been abused, but then saying that, there are people as well who, because they're so used to being abused, depending on what the abuse it was, can actually see that what's happening to them is still part of that. They'll actually perhaps even get with somebody who it carries on that abuse. So, but if you were raped or choked or anything like that, it's really freaked you out, you are probably going to be very much turned off. But there are other people that can actually get in a relationship and go, I'm still in that cycle, right?
Right.
But what I was saying is, you can both go to your grave and go that you've lived your fantasies. What if you hadn't lived them? Then what would you do?
I don't think Angelina Jolie is going to be showing up at my door. Or
yeah.
No, what was the other? What's not Angelina? She plays in all the Marvel movies. She was the Black Widow.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
Lucy,
you there.
Yeah, Lucy.
It's like Wendy, to answer that. It's the poem that you heard. It's part of Emerson. Emerson, or who's the other guy that's like Emerson? Waldo. That's Waldo Emerson. The other guy. One of those two. You always kind of associate them together. Thoreau. But didn't he, in his poem, remember that little poem made very well remembered by the Dead Poets Society, that movie with Robin Williams? A paraphrase of his poem where he said, I went to the woods because I wanted to live deliberately. I wanted to take a bite out of life and suck all the marrow of the bones of life, and put to death or to rout all that was not life, so that not when I came to die, realize that I had not yet lived. So there's kind of maybe a more esoteric answer to what you're saying than you're looking for. But I think if I die, I'm not going to have any regrets on the other side. It's you either, depending on what you believe, you're moving on to something different. You're going to, okay, I'm going to not do that one again, or whatever it might be, whatever our eternal soul, our eternal energy dictates at that point.
But what if you're,
I think,
and their fantasy is not, you don't want to do it. You don't want to bring it to life.
What do I do if I don't want to bring their fantasy to life?
What would you do?
First of all, I'd usually give it a shot. And I'd say, pretty much, is there sex involved in this? Okay, I'm on.
They say it's only kinky the first time, right? It's only kinky.
Right. There's always a one-timer. I figure if she can do some of the things she does, I can do some of the things she wants me to do. However, there are certain fantasies I just wouldn't engage in. Now, if she wanted to dress up in costumes, it's not my thing. I do my costume, like Travis said, I've lived all my fantasies in real life. I dress up in costume more than any man I know, other than other guys who do Renaissance festivals and reenacting and stuff. So I don't have a problem with dressing up. I feel goofy when it's like, oh, we're dressed up now, my darling. Oh, my sweet mistress. Shall we dance? Shall we dilly-dally around? Oh, I can't believe you said that. You know, do you want to play? I don't like play acting when it comes to, if I want to wear a costume, I'm going to be, you know, I'm a pirate, goddammit, and I'm going to mount you. I'm going to shiver me timbers.
Dave.
I'm going to board you. I'm going to swab your decks, and I'm going to go down below.
What is it? I always thought dressing up like the Joker. What was that in the original Batman where he looks at her and says, "Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?"
Yeah.
Because Jack Nicholson, I always tell him, you got to pick your thing. Down in my hamburger costume, it's a sexy time of disappointment. Travis, he's married to 2 women, and anybody.
My man is our Travis.
And and somebody.
Sorry, I'm laughing through your point. I read somebody's post and it cracked me up.
And I have lived with 2 women, and I tell them, and the other guy's like, I do that. I said, so you want to disappoint 2 women at the same time? So that is your fantasy, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, multiple. You multiple. Achiever.
Well, all I got to say is, me young puppet, I want you to climb me mizzen mast. And I want you to drop sail, swab me deck. And, well, Travis said, by the way, looks down after I talked about costumes, looks down at my hamburger costume for sexy time and disappointment.
That is such a cool comment. That's probably the comment.
Sorry, Michael, and I trashed all over your comment, and I'm sorry I did that. I did not.
Oh, you're fine. I just seen this other one says, "All right, I'm a pirate. I will make you walk with a limp without a peg leg." And most time, that's another thing that's really hit big. They're talking about
Steph.
They're talking about the pegging and peg leg. I know where she's going with that.
Oh, I know right where she's going with that one.
Yeah, first time I seen that, like mainstream was like Deadpool was like, "Oh, National Women's Day." Nope. I tried. Nope.
Yep.
I'm like, nope. And and if a woman come to me, she said, "Oh, it's your time to be bent over." I'd be like, "Yep, time for you to leave. My phone's ringing. We got to go."
Yeah.
It'd been natural emergency. It'd be like, "Nope, I'm out."
I'm still laughing at Travis's comment. I'm sorry. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's like, wow. Okay. You want to make me
oh my goodness.
That is such a comment of the night, isn't it? It is.
Yeah, that's the comment of the night. Yes.
It is.
Now, let me ask, have we satisfactorily broached the topic of sexual fantasy, fact or fiction, real, false? What can you expect? What should you do? What do you think?
Let me ask you a question. It just ain't sexual fantasies.
No, it's not. But that's where we were focusing.
I know. But
yeah,
it's a broader thing. Like I said, and I start everything learning, and I'm starting looking. It's the science of what was it? Behavioral health. I can't even say it. It's a topic about this long. Reminds me every time I was dispatched to the ER due to a vibrator they shoved up my ass by his wife. Oh Lordy mercy.
Nice.
All right, so much for my.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God! Right.
I'll have to give you a call.
There is also an X-ray of a gentleman at St George's Hospital in Tooting, where he has a very large vibrating dildo.
Dildo?
Been up so
I thought
far.
it was a guessing game.
Got it stuck inside, and they took an X-ray of it. Sometimes our fantasies take us to places that we're like, we can put ourselves in a bit of, danger, like that poor guy.
Danger. Danger, Will Robertson.
Yeah. But like I said, it could be a work fantasy. It could be, a vehicle fantasy that you want, or a career fantasy. Because I remember growing up, I always wanted to be a soldier, and I kept saying, "Oh, it was a lapsed what?"
Sorry, it was for a lapsed domestic. The wife agreed to anal if she could shove something up his ass.
You see,
so he obviously wanted the anal.
I got to agree with that. If and without going too delicately onto that subject, I always think that if you do something to someone, they should be able to do it to you, right? So if they're talking about anal. And they're like, I don't want to do that. And it's like, well, hang on, you want to do it to me, but I'm not allowed to pop this up there and see how you like it. So I do think that there is definitely what's good for you is good for them, right?
What's good for the goose is good for
Yeah,
the
good
gander.
for the goose, good for the gander. You know, I will tell you, LOL, he fell asleep, said Travis. Pop. I got to tell you, I would think, and I'm trying to be serious, performing anal sex on somebody anally is probably easier than experiencing anal sex from somebody. It would be my guess because I've done neither. It's not my thing. And if I ever had suggested something to my partner and they said, "Oh, I don't know. I don't really like that." I might go, "Do you want to try? You sure?" And if they don't want to try, you go, "Hey, it's out. I'm not going to do that then. I'm good with that."
Just once, just a tip.
Just isn't that the just the tip, honey?
Deb's got a good point though. Fantasy 911.
What's that? Deb, yes.
How do you?
Some say it hurts, but it gets pleasurable.
Was
I
it
don't know.
bad for saying funny shit every time?
I got to tell you.
Oh, it's fine.
I got to tell you, there are moments the reverse is going on, and I got to squeeze out, drop some major Duke, as they say. It ain't a pleasurable experience. I couldn't imagine. And I mean, and that is, let's be clear, that's softer. It's supposed to go out. You shove something hard in there that's not supposed to. I can't imagine that feeling good.
Oh, what was it? The lady went to the doctor
It's unnatural.
She kept saying, you know, the entrance of my bum is sore. He said, as long as you keep calling it an entrance, it will be sore.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of the doctor is in.
It is. The doctor is in the house. Kenny Bellows.
Hello, Ken.
Wow. I tell you what, this is a sore subject, you guys.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Well, here at Robertson, we're not afraid to tackle like
We ain't afeard.
Interfered.
I thought we'd talk about everything on morning coffee, but this is good.
We missed a few
We
things.
up the game. Speaking of morning coffee, did you see the show this morning, KB?
I was scared this morning. So no, I didn't.
You never take your shit.
Are you okay? I'm sorry, I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing at what Travis said.
The thing is, Ken, when we actually decided to broach this subject tonight, we were aware that it could go down many different
and of course, Wendy and I ahead of time, we dealt with this very matter-of-factly.
We did, because if we showed you the information we were shown tonight, you'd have actually sat there with your mouth open because we saw
oh my God, seriously?
Pretty major shit.
You need to drink a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wine time at Wendy's house. Travis says you've never.
This is Ribena. That's Ribena. So there ain't nothing going on.
Travis says you've never taken a shit so large it needs a social security number and spent 15 minutes questioning your sexuality. Thank you for that, Travis.
Oh my God, he's funny.
You know, when I get done with this BA, I want to book him for a case study. I really am. I was be like, hey, this is going to be my dictation for my paper. Say wholesale.
Travis? Yeah. He's good for it.
That's one rabbit hole I don't want to go down.
Truth.
Yeah.
Damn.
Someone is sore indeed.
Oh,
Just saying.
But on a positive note, you look like you feel good, KB.
Would be afeard, believe me.
Yes.
Yes. I would be afeard.
How are you feeling tonight, sweetheart?
Well, the swelling, the puffiness has gone down. Come to find out, I made fast. My potassium was off. I was drinking, the last 4 days, I drank about a case of V8 full of potassium. I didn't know that. And, oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that was bad for you?
Cover the window, Michael.
Huh?
Val says cover the window. She can't see you.
Yeah, he looked like a shadow hiding in the background. Yeah, he
Well-
looks like the shadow
Well,
man.
we were worried about you when we heard you were off to the ER. We were like, oh my God, are you okay? So it's really nice to see you here tonight.
I feel a little better.
It is.
You look good.
I ain't gonna say that, but what about it? Well, look, I'm gonna get off, sit back and laugh, enjoy the show.
Well, we're almost done. We've
is that
gone
better?
45 minutes longer than we normally go.
Yeah.
So
Something else.
I have familial duties to do with kids and all of that coming up shortly. So
I can say, Scotty, it's been a deep show.
Well, as I said,
deep for some.
This topic was brought to us. We actually get a lot of people saying, "Will you cover this?" And we had photographs and stuff and evidence to look at this tonight about fantasies, and we were like, "Let's do this. Let's go for it."
So, folks, send in all your photos of your fantasies, and Wendy and I will decipher them.
Let me ask you a question.
Just on the show.
If you belong to the right political party, maybe that perks your fantasy for the cigar in the Oval Office.
Oh,
Clinton, the fantasy with Clinton and the cigar.
that
Remember?
wasn't a fantasy. He really did that.
Yeah, you really did.
He still has the dress. But
Tell you
anyway,
what, I'm gonna let you guys get back to your Brian Out the Light show. And
oh Lord. KKB said that's a little bit much for him. He's a fear. He's a fear. There's Val.
Oh my God, she's
Right.
still got the lights on. Love it.
Kenny, you sit back and enjoy. We'll try to paint as many vivid pictures with our words as we can, and then you can, enjoy yourself.
Here he is. Look. Oh, it's such a lovely picture. The two of you there. I just want to put you together.
There you go.
Oh, you got to blow a kiss back now, KB.
KB is sensitive.
She knows what I think.
Oh, what did you,
I'm
what
not
did
gonna
you
do that.
think of
That's
the
all right
topic?
there. We handle that in private.
let me out. Won't let me out.
It was a very deep topic. It really was. Yes.
See you, Kenny. Yes, it was a deep topic, and like we said, sometimes it's deep for some, not as deep for others, deeper for others. So
Yeah, that's true.
and there's an entendre in everything, and
There can be.
there can be.
Yeah.
So
I think,
A little
you're
gentle
not frightened.
persuasion.
You're not frightened to tackle a topic, even if it's difficult. And they said to us when they asked us to look at this, be interesting to see what it was like from the male and female, both of our points of view, because women might look at it differently. But Scotty and I literally had 10 minutes to talk about this, and we were like, okay, right? Oh my God.
It doesn't take too much time usually to talk about it.
Oh, I think he's been listening in on some of our conversations. I said,
sorry,
pineapple on pizza and tongues and assholes are for some people who have a little more sophisticated.
God. I've read some things, Travis, but
here. This is almost worthy of a quote. I wish I could dim the lights and bring up a spot. And I imagine Dr. Sex Kitten is the kind of guy that will tongue patch your fart box and
Tongue
keep his mouth
punch.
shut like a gentleman.
Tongue punch.
Don't never kiss and
Oh,
tell.
tongue punch your
Yes.
fart box. There it is.
Oh,
You have to get it right.
There it is.
tongue punch. Oh my God, that was what.
Tongue punch.
No,
It's
tell you
so
what that
sad
means,
that I
baby.
know what that means.
you tell them, say, I'm the type of guy that will stick my tongue so far up your ass, I can taste all the shit the other guys put you through. Come on by.
Wow, that's like almost poetic.
That's what I said. And now you know I have a big old dog that guards the door that won't let me out. Now, why is one wicked woman laughing and the other one's over there going, "Ugh."
It's just like, sometimes you just hear something and you're like, good God.
Well, there it is. I think we've raised the bar with our show.
And I'm British and it takes a lot to actually shock me. But literally that was.
The sad thing is, I've heard that several times before, so it's just funny.
You've had your fart box tongue punched.
No,
No,
No.
so it's not on your. It's not on
I've
your.
heard
Not
it.
that she's
I've heard
telling.
it.
Oh,
I've heard people
Yeah, that
say
was
that.
awesome stuff,
okay,
wasn't
KB, work on that.
Phil
No,
guys,
you're good. You're good. Thanks.
Michael,
Phil guys,
If
if
this
it's
was a
a
night
night
show, I'd be calling in. I have so much material here. Poor guy.
show should come with a
Well, it's night over in London, so
Yeah.
Well,
wow,
now
it's
you
gotta
guys,
be.
now you guys know how shy Wendy and I are.
You guys are so shy,
What you have to look forward to.
right?
Oh Lord, man, Scotty have to come in and spice it up.
Yeah, we're gonna have to help you all come out of your shells a little bit.
Just a little
No,
bit.
right.
Hopefully you'll come and join Val and myself as we tackle such difficult topics like
I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Flirtation is an art form, says Michelle
It is.
Canham-Free. It is. It is. It
Flirting
truly is.
is good. If you haven't got flirting in a relationship and even in a marriage, if you still don't flirt with each other or you still don't really have the phone call that goes,
Mhm.
you know, I want to go home tonight. Yeah. You better not be wearing or you better be like this or whatever. Okay, right. And I've done that in my time. You know, I've dressed up in the outfits and when they've come home, they've gone, I didn't expect you to wear that. And it's like, surprise is the best thing going, right? You got to keep the spice. And it's the same as fantasies. You know, would I share every single one of my fantasies? No, I wouldn't. No, because
No.
that's me and my fantasy, right? And I
Right.
wouldn't expect to hear every one of theirs.
No.
Because at the end of the day, it's just
I don't want to hear everybody's fantasies.
some things you just want to have with yourself and your friend.
If
Right.
Wendy told all of her
What friend, Wendy?
fantasies, the guy would look like he had a lobotomy.
I meant that from an inanimate friend or an animate friend. Never mind. It was a bad joke that fell flat.
I'm like,
So
yeah. Sometimes you do hear things and you're like,
they don't think it's
What?
fun.
and it's like,
Oh.
wow, okay. I tell my wife, I tell them, I was thinking, but like I said, Scotty, if Scotty had the holodeck, what would it be? A, B, C, D, E. Oh well, we're always up to G now with Enterprise. What would be your what would be your fantasy? What holodeck would you want to? Would you?
If
Or
I
would
told
you like?
you, it wouldn't be my fantasy anymore.
Oh no.
Because from then on, if he told you from then on, every time he thought of that, you'd be in there.
Oh, I think I could do a ton of things. If I had a holodeck, obviously, the adventure. I'd live a novel I read, or I'd do something like that, all of those types of things. But I could also, I think, is sex with a hologram sex? Yeah. It's physical sex in the science fiction realm. So I would probably be, that's where I think you could get absorbed by the fantasy in a hypothetical science fiction sort of way. Because if you had a holodeck, you don't need to go through all the shit of dating.
But don't you find that if
You
you're
know?
not with someone that
You would never come out.
fulfills your fantasies, or
Where's
someone
Captain Scotty?
that puts the inspiration in your head, it's kind of boring. Like
Yeah.
it really is boring. I mean, I'm not vanilla. I've never been vanilla, and I never will be. That's just because it's my personal choice. But it's like if you're with someone who is vanilla, it can be kind of like, oh, tonight it's me
Right.
and my little friend, right?
Wendy has
Say hello to
sprinkles.
my little friend.
Wendy has
Sprinkles.
Sprinkles. Yeah.
Like I said,
Imagine my chagrin.
I'll tell them, we got past missionary when to quit burning witches. And I'm like, I don't get it. And everybody's like, when they're talking about doggy or whatever, I'm like, that is vanilla. It's like, oh, I thought doggy was invented so we could both watch TVs. So when you get done, you go to bed. Just multitask. But no, it's like, no. Oh, Dave.
And, is lingerie one of your fantasies, Scotty? Do you like the
I like good lingerie. I will say that. I tend to be somebody though. You could tempt and taunt and flirt with me in a $300 lingerie get up, and you could also wear a crop top jersey and a pair of sweatpants,
Mhm.
and have me just as fast, if not faster, because I'd be too worried about taking off the lingerie and ruining it.
Yeah, because it costs you too much.
Most men are
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, that's
$12.
pretty. Take it off."
And,
Well, that's the way we are. I love. I've bought nice lingerie for women before,
And it's nice when a guy buys you lingerie
and
because
it's always nice.
he's thinking about you and he wants you to. He's got this image of you. But I also
Right.
think I know some guys that just want the lingerie on. They don't want it taken off. They're like, leave it on. That's the fantasy. The fantasy is the feel of it, the texture, the lace, the silk.
And again, we're talking about this stuff like adults, so I'll just be an adult. When I'm being straddled and mounted, she's on top, and I'm watching. I don't want to, from down there, be going, how do you get this thing off? Because I want to see what's over me. I want to visually soak that in. And because I'm a visual kind of person. It looks good, for the tempt me, lure me. I had a woman once ask me a long time ago, but she, by the way, Travis Scotty's holodeck program would be ravaged by a clan of wild Klingon women. All I have to say to that, Travis, is kapla.
They wasn't the most
I
attractive.
had a woman say to me once, we actually scheduled a rendezvous. And she said, would you like me to wear black lingerie or red? And I went,
neither.
I said, preferably none. Oops. Oh, field guy's coming out.
Green, orange slave.
I said, preferably none. I said, but, and then I got all analytical with her, and she got a little frustrated. I'm like, well, now red's for romance. Red is romantic. It's a fiery thing. I said, that's cool if you're gonna, be showing me your lingerie. I'm thinking it's not just to model it. You're asking me for a reason. I said, black, though. Black is mysterious. Black is, and she was blonde. She had blonde hair like you, Wendy. And so I was like, black is good with blondes. I like that. And she's like, will you fucking tell me which color you want me to wear? And I said, I'm sorry. I said, frankly, it won't last long, so I don't care. Whatever you like. And that wasn't the answer she wanted. She wanted to know what would make me happy, which was very cool.
One of my, not that I've really talked much about him, but there is a guy called, I think he got the name right, Julian McMahon, and he used to play, Charmed, when it was on years ago, he used to play Cole in Charmed. He's an Australian guy. Then he was in Nip and Tuck as one of the doctors. I could not get enough of that guy. He is so fucking hot.
Is he the same guy that played the younger in the Avenger movies? The younger version of Metallica, or
he was in the Fantastic Four, the original Fantastic Four. He was the baddie.
Yeah. He played Dr. Doom.
He is so hot, and he had the whole hairy chest, the blue eyes, the dark hair. He was hot, right? And he played a demon, and he used to work out, so he had a big chest, and you're just like, oh my god, right? If every demon looked like him, I'd be like, bring him in the room, right? And I used to think to myself, that is a fantasy guy. That is my fantasy guy. Someone who takes care of himself, works out, looks good, and he's got that edge to him that he can just pick you up and put you against the wall, or he can be as tender as whatever, and he's protective about you. So that was one of my fantasy guys when I was like, when I used to have those nights alone, or he would come to mind, and I used to think Danny Minogue, who married him, first of all, lovely woman, because he's a bad looking man. Julian McMahon.
So Fabio never done it for you?
The what?
Me? No.
Fabio. No, I'm talking to the one in the middle.
Oh, shoot.
What's somebody done for?
Fabio. Remember Fabio? He was on all the pictures of all
Not
the.
at all. Not at all. He's blonde. He's too effeminate looking, and he looks too good. Strangest thing, Miss Robertson, they tell me I'm his hairy bearded. Well, I can't see because
There you go.
you have a hat on. So, but you know,
Travis is a big, brawny former. Well, I don't know if he's former really, but military, army, military police, regular police.
Oh, not the Pope.
He's a big dude, and then he grew the big lumberjack beard or Zeus beard, I like to call it.
What is it? 31? What is that? The 31 series? Travis might be able to help me. The 31.
no
Yeah,
idea.
I think that is. I think.
But, you know, Jason Momoa, I wouldn't, whatever. I wouldn't kick him out at all.
Travis is definitely a Jason Momoa type without the Polynesian blood.
Like as in what was it called? Game of Thrones as oh my god, I've forgotten his name now in it, who he played. He's a fine looking man.
Oh, Ken.
I look like a darker haired fat Thor. Remember Fat Thor from the movie?
Dave says, "Can I keep listening to this as I'm in Home Depot?" But Jake, yeah, I mean, he's a fine-looking guy. And, you know, when he was on TV the other week, he took off his clothes and he had just like the whole, because he's Hawaiian, isn't he? And I was just like, oh my god, because you want that. This is what us girls, some of us girls want. We want when a guy takes his clothes off, we want to look at them and go, oh yeah. Like, I really, really want that. I want to run my hands down their
I'm sorry,
chest.
say that again. Look into the camera and say that again.
Oh, yeah. I really, really want that. Like, you know, you want to run your hands down their chest, don't you? You want to, yeah, you just want to take in the manliness and feel that whole body. As
See, now you can say that, but a guy, I can't go, I really want to run my hands down your chest and take in the whole thing. You can't.
We're safe on this program. It's our show.
It's naughty. So when I take my clothes off, says Travis, there's an uptick in Sasquatch sightings. There it is.
Travis, how many wives do you want? Let's ask Travis this. Travis, how many wives do you want?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
While he's thinking about that, I'll tell you. While Travis is thinking about how to answer that, Sasquatch is out casting his footprint.
Me and Steph have got the same idea. That she says she wants to trace his tattoos with her tongue. What was his name in Game of Thrones? Somebody please tell me what it was.
The more like Voltron, the more the merrier, the more the better.
The more wives, the better. What was his name? You ever watch Game of Thrones, Scotty?
I never watched it. Weird as that is, festival people all watched it. They were all like, "Oh, it's like the new Holy Bible." It's like I haven't seen it. I haven't had time.
Oh my god! Can you bring up a picture of him in Game of Thrones, Jason Momoa?
I remember him from
Khal
Game
Drogo.
of Thrones. I did see an episode or two.
That was his name. Oh, every time there was a scene with him on, fast forward it, pause. Fast forward it, pause. You just be like, it's a fine looking man, you know.
You wore out your fast forward button.
Mm-hmm.
Pause. There was a lot of pausing that night. So Steph and I have that in common. Phil Guy, oh, you can take me then. Okay. The ladies have free reign with me if they just want to rip my clothes off and ride me like a pony. All right. I'm not going to stop them. Just saying. Well, there's
There's a little confidence for you.
Oh.
Don't be afeard.
It's getting kind of hot in here.
Aisle 12 has rope and duct tape. I'm sure.
That's my kind of aisle, Dave.
I didn't know you were a furry Uncle Dave. I didn't know you were a furry Uncle Dave. I'm sorry. I'll put my sweatshirt back on. Okay, I'm missing commas somewhere. I didn't know, comma, you, comma, were a furry, comma, Uncle Dave, period. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll put my sweatshirt back on. So Dave, are you a furry?
That's another whole fantasy. Dress up like a big bad wolf or a horse
no.
Yeah.
The best I could do, I loved, I didn't wear weird, stupid costumes. I always had I wanted the swashbuckling look, the charming look, when we
Yeah.
did festival and all of that. It's like I don't want to wear that. That looks buffoonish. Dave made a lot of my costumes. He does. That's what he does, and he always made me look dashing, and so that's what I wanted. So the same thing would be for anything else.
So when
Never
you
wanted a tattoo. Never wanted to tattoo a maze or sacred geometry on my junk before, but after hearing that time to take some painkillers, I think I got what you mean.
man, he's the more he's grown on me tonight a lot, because the more comments he puts out, I'm like, that's a good one.
Grown on you is probably the appropriate phrase, but you
But when
probably
you
enjoy Travis's company. Everybody I know, well, not
Jason
everybody likes
Momoa
Travis, but
he was in Stargate Atlantis too. That's where he got his start. The Stargate Atlantis.
Wouldn't you rather be with a woman, Scotty, that's, how can I put this? And Michael, let's ask that question. Who's adventurous than not adventurous?
yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Why is that?
Now, are
wants
you
to
talking
go
like
hiking all the
I'm
time?
gonna put on my Banana Republic boots and go hiking in the
I meant
foothills of the
sexually.
Theban Mountains?
I
Yeah.
meant sexually, yeah.
Oh, sexually.
Oh, let's put,
Yeah,
let's
of
put,
course.
let's put the glasses on.
I would prefer that to not that. So
To be or not to be is the
that is
question.
the question.
Very true.
You know, and you look at it like this: is it going to be the same thing? You got 5 minutes, get it done. The late show's going on, or when you come in, you know, the bedroom has got whips and chains, and you don't know if you're going to make it out alive.
Right. Right.
Coming from my background, I need the endorphins that keeps my mind going because I have ADHD. I'm a Gemini.
Yeah.
Not only by cosmic powers to be, but the few head injuries that I've accrued amongst my times out here living the best fantasies in my life that I could. I
Yes.
still need that visual stimulate. I need that endorphins in my life.
Mhm.
Because, you know, like I said, you know, and you
I
know,
like endorphins.
yeah. Me and Lydia's had this conversation, and she'll say, "Oh, hold up, I need to bring you back," because you know, if I get bored, or if it's not something, my mind moves so fast. It's like, oh, you got 5 minutes, and it'll be like, really? That's all I mean to it. If women wants to trigger, I'm booking
Apparently,
There you go, Travis.
Phil Guy says his bananas get very slippery when watermelons are around.
Oh.
Oh, so he's a produce farmer now. Okay,
Oh, I see what you're saying there, field guy.
yeah. Nothing to do
The
with
Dead End
produce.
Collective, I'm late to the party but could not resist the oxymoronic title.
The Dead End Collect. Oh, yes. The oxymoronic title. Yeah, it was. It was a good conversation, Niall. You should have been here. It was
Yeah.
good.
It was a
It was a great exploration that once we were done with it devolved a little quickly to tomfoolery, but
you know, the thing is, like, it's good because at the end of the day, we've all talked about the serious side, we've talked about the
Yes.
fun side, and we, you know, everyone's engaged. There's been so many comments
yes,
on flying down
everybody's
that.
enjoyed it, and that's
There is private chat as well. Have you seen that?
in private chat.
Yeah, there was a private chat as well when someone asked if they could join. Did you see
Hello.
that?
Hey, Jimison. Oh, somebody came in. One policy we have on the shows, my show, this show, is that if you just pop into the chat window and you want to chat via video, and we don't know who you are, we've got to vet you a little bit first. We've had a few mishaps. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I just get concerned about how it bothers other people sometimes. We had some guy get on and flash his dick at us. It's like, oh, I took him out. I said, well, you know what? You're obviously want to add to the conversation.
I only did it once. All right.
Only once.
Only once.
Well, we forgave you.
Niall that says the Dead End. Is that Niall?
Yes.
He says,
Dead End Collective is Niall.
Why are you both dressed up? Well, actually, this is just me on a good day because I always dress every day.
We dress for this show, Niall.
and we can. What's more, we
We
can.
enjoy it. We enjoy it. Here, there you go.
Yeah, oh,
And
yeah.
so, yeah, we dress for the show, and different suit and tie every week, different dress every week.
Absolutely.
You're gonna make me get out my suit and tie one day.
You should.
Well, I actually think though. Oh look, Travis, because she's a fucking queen.
Fucking queen. That's why.
Thank you, Travis.
There you go, Travis. Bada boom, brother.
Hey, Travis, like I said, and that's one thing you're talking about him being prior service, and like I said, and I have learned a lot of things about the guys that comes from our background. Like I said, I'm trying to be nice or whatever, but there is somebody that's going to come out and say, you want to know why? I will tell you why, because they're not afeared. And
we ain't afeared.
And like I said,
as they say in Virginia,
this thing here, like I said, I've been threatening her with the nail clippers all day to get her to go behave, because I told her she's had her 15 minutes of fame. She don't believe me.
But she's going to keep romping on you over there, I see.
And she's like, yep.
Well, at least he's got a beautiful female to romp with this evening, right? Some of us are go to bed with the hot water bottle.
No, but like I said, the fantasy, it's all. So, like I said, it could be good, it could be bad, it could be indifferent, and it can cause, like I said, hard feelings between couples, because if you don't share the same fantasies, and no, you know what my fantasy? A dog that will listen when I say go lay down. The one that says, you're here, be good. And I
have one like that. He just, he's.
I'll have to take a look at that, Steph.
Correct.
So,
and but it's
Thank you very much, Niall. It's very kind of you to say.
Yes, Dead End is not. You look great. Yes,
she does, Niall.
Elvis only
phenomenal.
Show. At Elvis only show. But no, it's like I said, it's what was it? David Cassidy was doing his fantasy of the. I was infantry for 8 years prior to Civil Court. Infantry.
Civilian cop. There it is. I get his story mixed up sometimes.
The blue robe guy. 11 series.
If you come up this way, we're going to smoke a cigar and talk good shit.
And talk good shit.
That's right.
That's it.
Travis is good for a good talk. I came upstairs once after working down here in the evening, and my wife, she was talking on the phone. I went downstairs where I came up like 2 hours later. She's still talking. I go, who are you talking to? Oh, it's just Travis. And so Travis is a great conversationalist. Then I sat down next to her. She put him on speaker, and we talked for another 2.5 hours.
And
the way it is.
He's talking about Ben 11 series. Some of the fantasies, don't have to be sexual. Sometimes, you just fantasize about if you get put in the tent somewhere.
Sure.
That everybody don't snore.
Yeah.
Fantasy is a good night's sleep. It's like
a good night one.
Close
Niall, I will say, was the show all about sex? It was primarily about sexual fantasies, and it was more the sexual, or we called it intimate fantasies, and what's fake and what's fraudulent, what's good and what's bad, what is overdoing fantasy. We had Sarah Soderlund was on here, gave us some psychological advice.
And explain why we brought this subject up, because basically people write to us and they say, and message us and they say, look, this is a really good topic. Will you cover it? And somebody I know quite well asked me and showed us some information from the internet about people writing about their fantasies and if that, and they asked us to cover it. So we're covering it. And it's been a really good topic. And in fact, one thing I've learned about doing Robertson, we have more high viewers about relationships and life and love than we do when we talk about the paranormal. And if I hear one more conversation about, may I just use this word, fucking Bigfoot, right? I'm going to actually just drop off the planet, because it's like there's only so much you can hear about the paranormal and Bigfoot and ghosts and goblins. There's also about real life. And that's why we wanted Robertson to be about what goes on in people's lives. Right.
And Niall's one of those guys, I have to say, I'm not driven by sexual impulse. But, of course, I know what you mean. Yeah, and the show isn't about, I think, the negative side of sexual fantasy is being driven by it. That's one of the things we covered. By the way, Travis has to go. And so, Travis, nice to have you here today.
was going to say,
I need to
Travis,
get you on the show just to talk on Intrepid Radio.
yeah,
Everybody
send me a
with
friend's request because, like I said, I'm trying to build the Veterans Network. That's one of the reasons I'm going back to
Yeah.
school to help out, brother vets and sister vets, and I like to network with other vets, and
sure.
And like I said, and some of the fantasies and some of the stuff I heard sitting around the smoke pit or when it's just guys is not fit for YouTube. It would have to be a very close circuit group chat.
Understandable.
Thank you very much for that compliment. We are so glad that you liked it. We talked about a few other things, to have a break from, but people want us to talk about it. So we're going to come back and talk about it, right?
Niall, we'll have to get you another time because frankly, believe it or not, I've been trying to wrap up this show for the last 25 minutes.
Everybody wants us to stay.
I've got family stuff going on. We've been going over 2 hours. So
2 hours, 15 minutes.
I have to call it quits for tonight because I've got some obligations I got to take care of. But otherwise, I would, Niall. I would love to have your input on this. And so I'm going to let's just do what we got to do. Michael,
yes,
thanks
sir.
for being here, brother. I'm going to remove you. And I will talk to you soon. Right. And Wendy, as always, absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed the show tonight, and I hope everybody else did too.
Great topic, great people, and it's lovely to be joined by so many people that want to input as well, because that means a lot to us.
And that was good. I enjoyed the input from everybody. Yeah. All right, guys. We will see you next Tuesday at the same time. And until then, I'll see you tomorrow night on Intrepid Radio. And everything will just keep going the way it always goes.
They will see me and Val this weekend on Wicked Women on Sunday.
Right, Wicked Women on Sunday.
Wendy is my spirit animal. Thank you, Steph. Thank you.
There it is.
So we'll see you then.
All right, Wendy. I will take my leave of you. I love you, care about you, and it was a great show, and I will talk to you again soon. Everybody else, live long and prosper.